NSC Fan TV. I'm Scott.
I'm Drew.
We are here after the 5-2 win against DC United. Drew has opinions. I have opinions. Let's hear what Drew has to say. Drew, take it away.
Well, I actually have a list. So I can start at the top and go down if you want.
Let's just start at the top of Drew's list.
Let's start at the top. Randall Leal, number 8. I was critiquing him at the start of the game. I said, him dropping back isn't the best thing. There was a few glitches when he came back in the first half and got really bad touches on the ball, and things happened that shouldn't have because, he's supposed to be in the midfield, right? He's playing in that 5-way in the midfield. But he was dropping, and I think rightfully so, good, forward. So we'd have 3 going forward when things would get things would pick up. We'd try to get a build up like that. But he made me eat my words.
So the words were, he's not much of a defender.
And I had to eat my words when he came back for an immense tackle. That nothing but ball.
Nothing but ball.
Nothing but ball.
And he caught a little grass on the way in.
Caught a little grass on the way in. And I think after that, defensively, he came back and was actually maybe, just maybe, man of the match for me. Despite CJ's brace.
So 2 braces tonight. Two braces.
Yeah.
Great play in the midfield, but you're saying Leal's positive play going forward. We didn't even take that into account because we just in some ways assume it.
I was gonna say, I'm talking about
his
defensive play, his presence on the field. Honestly,
he's always a forward positive player. We haven't on. I don't know if we've set it on YouTube yet, but we have sitting next to each other been like, if Leal could be a defender, he'd be a complete player.
He'd be a complete player if
but
he was a defender.
Tonight he rounded a corner for you.
He did, honestly. And someone who's been on here before, Julian, has stated that he's the best player on the pitch at any given moment. He might just be right. After tonight, I think I'm convinced.
Tonight was a great game from Leal.
That was great.
A lot of hustle from him.
Yeah.
That's my heart. Seeing hustle.
The hustle was great. The hustle was great.
A lot of skill, a lot of really forward play, but then him coming back for defense. That is a complete player.
I think so. Especially given the fact that the hustle's there. I mean, because it'd be one thing, and that's honestly a problem sometimes with Will, who came on as a super sub tonight. That we'll get to that in a minute. But he has
subs.
Will had the hustle. He has the hustle, but sometimes he wouldn't have the football IQ. Right?
I agree with you. And I think that maybe it's a growing up thing for Moyle, but we'll come back to him.
We'll come back to him.
Yeah.
Now, second,
yes.
Mukhtar. So we talked about 2 braces.
2 braces tonight.
Mukhtar's stepovers were immense. And when I saw his first one...
So there are more words to be eaten.
There are more words. Yeah, I had to eat my words again.
Because...
What is he doing with those stepovers? All that footwork is unnecessary. What do you think you are? Wilfried Zaha for Crystal Palace?
Nice.
But no.
Good EPL reference.
Good EPL reference. I mean, I thought he doesn't need to do all this. He's wasting time. He could be getting the ball back, because he's usually, and always is, and today was, great with the hold-up play.
Yes.
But I thought that was a bit wasteful, but then he made me eat my words.
Because those stepovers created just enough space for him to do what? Crack it off the bottom of the post, or the crossbar.
And I mean, that was crazy because he was going at it full speed too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever defended against someone who can do that, who can step over like that. It makes it so difficult to step in or to make a tackle because you're going to get shit.
Because you're walking backwards. You're not sure which direction he's going. You're on your heels.
Stepping over. Yeah. And then it's hard to dig into that. So he made it extremely difficult to defend against that. I mean, it coming off the crossbar was just beautiful too.
It made it such an incredibly dramatic goal.
Yeah.
Such an incredibly dramatic goal.
It was immense. So
okay, all right. So we've talked about Leal. We've talked about Mukhtar Ishnibadush.
Yeah, I love him. He's great. I mean,
so number 3 on your list.
Number 3 on my list is Zimmerman. So he came on as a sub, but he wasn't one of the super subs.
Welcome back, Zimmerman, but not one of our super subs.
Welcome back. I think defensively, I like him. The only problem is that he has an eye towards the goal.
He gets sucked up, doesn't he?
He got sucked up.
He's an ambitious player,
especially after set pieces. I mean, it's one thing to have a center back come all the way for a set piece. Good, great. If you've got fresh legs, come up.
He's coming crashing.
The problem is you've got to drop back fast as soon as things get dicey. But he stayed forward, like, oh, maybe something will happen.
Maybe something
and
will
I can
happen.
be a part of it,
Yeah,
which makes sense in principle, right? But when you're a center back, it doesn't.
Well, especially whenever we've got Alex Muil playing in the back, who's like, yeah, he's filling in for center back. We're like, well, maybe you should come back.
Maybe that shouldn't happen. Maybe you need to drop back.
Yeah.
I thought, and then too, he had a few poor clearances, but then he had some great ones. So honestly, overall positive.
Overall positive.
But I didn't want to see him that far forward when the ball was in our hand.
So I think that he's got good football intelligence. I think
Yeah.
that he's an ambitious player. The thing that I was looking at was how he looked when he was at full tilt run.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
anybody who's had a hamstring injury
Oh.
knows that full tilt
you
run
can't, yeah.
is the danger zone. And I don't think that we saw him at full tilt run tonight.
I
And
think
so
that's right.
and so that was my test tonight. I was like, look, he's going to come on. He's going to run the defense. I didn't think that Ani Baba needed to come out. I thought that Jack Mayer needed to come out because I thought that he was outclassed pretty regularly.
Mayer,
and so for as much as I like his play, I think that he's maybe a half a step slower than most of the folks he's having to play against. And so he either needs to get speedier or he needs to find a way to get a clip on somebody. I don't know what the fuck he needs to do. But
he needs to do something.
He needs to do something different because it looks like he's regularly getting outclassed.
Yeah.
But because it was that 23 from them.
Was it 23 or 29?
29. Reyna looks so dangerous
Reyna
against
was
us.
dangerous,
He is such an athletic and such a fast player. And Mayer never got beat by him, but Mayer got put into danger by him too often.
He may as well have been beaten by him. I mean, that's how it was.
Well, because the whole defense had to crash afterwards.
Yeah, you had Paredes coming too. So right, you had that problem. Then you had Paredes come flying down. I mean, that was different.
So I have one thing to add to our list before we get to our next one. Is that okay?
Sure, please do.
So I want to talk about their team.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about what a fantastic player Ariola is.
Ariola, I mean, in the red, white, and blue, absolutely love him. No qualms.
When he's playing in the red, white, and blue, I love to see his play. He's creative. He's got football
quick,
field intelligence.
Quick, yeah.
And
he creates a lot of space.
But the other thing is that he sees other players, and he just sends balls into weird spaces. That's how their second goal got created.
Yeah, we had
was the fact that ball ended up on the other side of everybody. It was like, why? You know why? Because Ariola saw it. He's somebody who creates things for folks. And they lost, but you know what? In some ways, there were moments tonight where I was looking at it, just that Ariola owns our midfield. Yeah. He owns us. Maybe with 30 minutes where I was like, there was one guy who beat three of us tonight.
If it weren't for Dax in the midfield, I think it would have been a mess because he scrambled and won the ball back, dug it out
so many times.
He's really a bulldog-like player.
Yeah.
Honestly, who gets in the rough and just can find a way to dig it out without fouling.
So we've in the past analogized that digging to Torreira.
Lucas Torreira.
The old Uruguayan who played for Arsenal a couple of years back, or a year or so back. But you know what? What we need to do is flip that around. Torreira is more like McCarty.
Torreira's more like McCarty, like Dax.
Can dig it out. But Dax is actually Dax has got also just the positive intelligence in terms of being able to find passes. Because what'll happen is that he'll get the ball and there'll be a moment where snap and his spine straightens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see that moment where he's gone from like, I'm digging it out, I'm having to fight, to where is everybody?
Where's everyone? No, and I noticed that quite a few times in the game that he would just, if you're not looking, if you're not paying attention, you're just watching the game, watching the ball, you're like, whatever. But he'll be on the ball and he won't be looking at where he's trying to pass it next. He'll be looking to see where people are on the pitch at any given moment. So that if he sees something, right, he can pass, overlapping run, and then if he gets it again, then it's going through some avenue.
There's a moment where he says, I think, therefore I am, and therefore some kind of reason descends upon him.
Reason descends upon him like an eagle or something. I don't know. It's like
the skies part and the natural light of reason
it just
shines upon him.
Turns out all he needed Well, the numbers.
Just
You didn't need
the
to know,
numbers.
like, you didn't need to see them. You just needed the numbers.
Just needed the
Right
numbers.
into his brain, yeah.
Oh, so
I don't
great.
know, yeah. My final thing, though, this super sub. So, right, so not Zimmerman, but Alex Muyl and Brian Anunga. When they came on, I mean, they were a big reason for that, the penalty.
They were a big reason for the penalty.
But also
The goal, because it was Anunga who'd come way out of that defensive midfield
Yeah,
spot.
yeah.
And
'Cause he filled
and
in
it
for Dennis,
covered up,
yeah.
and it covered up, and then made it forward, and then pushed that ball back off the left side.
pushing up the left side, it was over at that point. I mean, yeah,
and
I
then-
think
and it goes.
it's over. Yeah, I think they were great. The subs. I know we've critiqued Will in the past, but that was a great game.
It was a great game from Will, and and so
Great. Last
we've that's a good, like what 20 minutes from
Yeah,
Will?
he didn't get to play very long, but it was a positive impact.
I thought that Alex Muyl had a really positive game. Again, the goal was fantastic. The penalty was good. The penalty was not just good. It was a goal.
It was a goal. Yeah.
But lots of other play. He was coming back and helping. There were lots of places where he was making positive play. He was a positive. Had a positive impact on the game. So we still had 2 goals going.
We still did have 2 goals.
So this has been a love fest. A 5-2 game has got a lot of love fest. But you know what? 2 goals is still a lot.
2 goals is still a lot,
So-
especially given that we had Willis make some good saves too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what are some places where we need to be thinking harder about what we need to fix?
That's a good question. I think honestly, we don't have an excuse to lose the ball in the midfield as often as we would do. Given that we're trying to flood it the way we've got the team going. I mean, seriously, and with the players we've got there, I mean, relative to the other players on their teams. Right, so the 3 in the back, the 5 in the midfield, and the 2 going forward with somebody who's ready to drop forward. You've still got, at any given time, at least 4 in the midfield, supposedly.
Who should be able to play in the midfield, either a
Who
forward
need to
dropping
be,
back or
Yeah.
one of the wingers coming up.
And you've got 3 in the back who, right, in any given situation, should be able to mark players who are going forward, right, when we do lose the ball in the midfield. So I guess I'm a bit disappointed in the midfield play.
Okay.
I think when you've got players like Areola, though, it's hard.
It's
because
hard. It's hard against Areola, but you know what? Every team's got a good midfield.
Every team's got to get.
They may not have an Areola, but you know what? We
You've
still
got-
should be able to outplay them.
Like for Miami, you've got Pizarro.
Pizarro.
You know, I mean that's just one example.
playing in
I
a
mean,
10 spot and was like, is he a forward? Is he a
Yeah.
midfielder? Don't know. But he fucking ate our lunch, and
He
so
ate
did
our lunch, yeah.
and so did the younger Iguain.
Younger Higuain when he came on, yeah, that was.
He ate our lunch, and so So let's take just one more second here because we already talked about the Inter Miami.
We already talked.
But
about that.
let's. So we talked about the game. Let's talk about this and context.
Okay.
So the context of this was that we had a 3-game road trip.
Yeah.
And there was a period of time in the Inter Miami game where it looked like we could come out of a 3-game road trip with 5 points. And that was pretty positive
That'd be great.
because it was a tie against Philly,
You know, so a tie against
New
the
England.
New England Revolution.
It felt like a
Great.
win.
Oh, definitely.
And then this soul-crushing loss.
Towards the latter half of the game too.
Yeah.
Against Inter Miami,
Right.
who were at the bottom of the table.
It stinks to lose late, and it stinks to lose late against a bottom feeder.
Wow. Yeah.
So this game was a turnaround because
Yeah,
DC was on a
DC
was on a run.
on a run. I was about to mention
Yeah.
it. Yeah, DC had been doing great. Areola had been putting in work after the World Cup. So
And that's a team that can clearly score goals. I mean, so in some ways,
No, yeah.
two is that if they got hot, it would have been a problem. Because like ask Toronto what it looks
Ask
like.
Toronto what it looks like. There's
When
not
they
even a good
got
answer. And I wasn't nervous though when they did put the first one in because I knew that was the kind of that's their kind of soccer, right? Is to run at it, smash them in, creative midfielders, make situations happen. But I wasn't worried because of the way we played. Right after that, we didn't lose our temper, we didn't lose our cool, we did what we normally do, and I thought that was actually a great testament to whatever's happening with Gary Smith in the back. I mean,
That was that's you said that to me. You were like, I'm not worried.
I was not worried at all.
So I was sitting there, I was sweating bullets and chewing all my fingernails off. I'm glad I was sitting next to you, man.
I wasn't
You
worried
weren't
at
worried.
all. I
You
thought
weren't worried.
with the way they were playing and the chances that were created from going forward to Mukhtar, Sapong, I wasn't worried, honestly. I mean, maybe I should.
NSC is a
But-
team that knows how to play from behind. That's for
That's
sure.
the other thing.
Yeah.
But I just noticed in the 10th minute of the play, it's like there wasn't much of a change.
They weren't.
It was-
They weren't rattled by
It
it.
was good hustle the whole time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great. I thought Gary Smith, good job. Because,
Gary Smith, good job.
I mean,
Yeah. All right. Are
Want
we
to end
done?
on that note?
Let's end on that. Gary Smith, good job.
Gary Smith, good job.
NSC Fan TV, Drew and Scott, after the 5-2 win against DC United.